Hi, welcome back to the channel. Kerry here again with a new video. First full-length video for quite a while. Apologies for all the bits and pieces that you've had to put up with. Just work and everything got on top of me, and when I was not working I was trying to relax, and this just seemed like a little bit too much like work. Apologies again, like I said. So today what I'm planning to do is review 3 books that I've read in the last couple of weeks. Well, the first one I finished about a month ago actually, and I'll just give you a little detail of where I'm at. So it's the 5th of December, I'd better check my watch, make sure it's right, 2021. Summer is here again. The last couple of days we've had quite hot temperatures, and if you're a heavy set person like me, you know that kind of adds like an extra 10% to your internal body temperature, so I'm sweating crazily at the moment. And I have not been to work for 2 weeks because we were sent home with a week left on our contracts, and hopefully they pay us out our holiday pay and the last couple of weeks, or week and a bit, this coming week. I was hoping that we are going to get an out-of-band payment, but didn't seem to come through. And now my logins there have been rescinded, so I can't actually check any details on that, and I can't even get a pay slip now. So here's hoping that Bunny comes through and it's all sorted out. As for what I'm going to do next, I've already applied for another job at the same organisation. Who knows if I'm got a good chance or not. They seem to be advertising it widely, more widely than usual. And beyond that, I don't have any income at the moment, so if that continues for a little while, I'm going to have to call upon the goodwill of the state and get some type of benefit, at least temporarily, until I can find a new position. This is not a great time of year to go through all that, so I was hoping to at least eke out an existence through the Christmas period, and then start job hunting afresh in the new year, but things may have to happen a little sooner than that. Anyway, like I said, it is summer now. Our winter this year was fairly mild. I don't remember anything too frosty, too freezing. Certainly no snow or anything like that, and I was out in it pretty much all winter with the job, going early in the morning. So summer is supposed to be extra hot this year apparently, but with a lot of changeable weather. The La Nina conditions in the ocean to the northeast of New Zealand, that usually warms up ocean temperatures and then affects our weather. It's a cycle La Nina and the other one, with El Nino, I believe, swap between the two on a regular basis, so our weather's either haywire or extra haywire. And anyway, so on with the book reviews. The first book I'm going to talk about is the Mauritius Command. Now, it is the 4th Jack Aubrey, Stephen Maturin book by Patrick O'Brien. I almost forgot the name. Now, the form I read it in was as the 4th story in these collected editions. It's the last story in the first volume. I bought this, here we go, collected edition box set in July 2020, and I've only read 4 of them so far, so hopefully I'm getting the right effect. Maybe it works better for people if they read them all at once and don't break to do anything, reading any other books, but I'm having to pace myself because there's so many other books on my TBR, it's ridiculous. Anyway, like I said, it's the 4th story in the first volume. It is the Mauritius Command. So what's happening in that book? Well, at the start, Lucky Jack Aubrey, as he's known, is living a kind of domestic life. He hasn't got a ship to command. He's living in a small rundown cottage with his wife and his new children. He also has to put up with his mother-in-law, who's living with them after some type of financial collapse of her own household, and he's dreaming of life on the ocean. And into this comes his friend Stephen Maturin, who's been working behind the scenes, and he's got Jack a gig basically as a commander of a commodore, actually, of a small fleet of ships which are going to be sent to the Indian Ocean to try and retake the French possessions in the Indian Ocean, like the Réunion and the other islands scattered around in the Indian Ocean. So off Jack goes, and the thing in this book which struck me different than the previous three Patrick O'Brian novels is in the earlier books there's quite a lot of length and story given to the arduous journeys between the locations. In this book, once we get into the journey, it's the journey stories just stop. They're in one location, and suddenly the next chapter, or even next paragraph, are in the next location. I found that a little odd, but I assume he needed to do that to keep the story running, otherwise it would probably just bog down in arduous sea journey stories. And I found it a little odd, though. It's a little change of pace from the earlier books. So anyway, in this book, it's more Stephen Maturin, the doctor and intelligence agent story. He's working behind the scenes all the time to help the British effort in the Indian Ocean. Meanwhile, Jack Aubrey doesn't really have a great chance to show off his amazing sailing skills or combat skills. He's more of a strategic planner in this one. He has to work with the other captains in the fleet, which is a bit like herding cats. He also has to work with the land forces that he's transporting to and fro from these French-held islands. So as such, the main battle scenes actually we see mainly through the eyes of Stephen Maturin. He's on board another ship as the British try to take one of these islands, and they actually fail, and there's a bloody battle. And we see it through, like I said, Stephen Maturin's eyes, and we see the true cost of a failure. There's wounds and mortal wounds and blood everywhere, and that was quite a bit of a change as well. We did see the blood and guts in earlier books, but there was usually in the process of a victory. So a bit of a change. We see the British can actually fail in their efforts, but overall they actually do succeed in taking the French Indian Ocean territories. I'm sure that's not a spoiler, as it actually happened 200 odd years ago. Anyway, so that's the story basically, and I found it's a little bit of a lesser book than the previous three. The previous book, the HMS Surprise, had quite a solid core in the when they stayed over in India. This one doesn't really have a similar structure. It's basically the operation to take the French territories in the Indian Ocean, and that's pretty much where it ends. And there are some amusing asides. They stop in Cape Town on and off between the trips into the Indian Ocean, and there's corrupt shipyards and men who need to be court-martialed that Jack has to take over the court-martials, being the superior officer. Overall, yeah, I didn't think it was as substantial as the earlier books in the series, but I've only read 4 of them, and maybe once you've read 21, it sticks out more as an excellent read. I don't know when I'm going to get around to actually finishing the series, probably around 2030 or something. I have a good friend who swears by these books as some of the finest historical fiction. I can see what he's seeing. Along with the seafaring stories and the character stuff, it does delve into a lot of the history of the era and how people on the ground saw the major events as they happened. So that is The Mauritius Command by Patrick O'Brian. Okay, and now for something completely different. The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. This is the sequel to the Thursday Murder Club, which sold like hotcakes last year. I remember reading the first book, The Thursday Murder Club, about this time last year, summer, around Christmas it was, so a little later than now maybe, and I really enjoyed it. It was a cozy crime thriller, like I wrote in my review, it's like a warm hug. You enjoyed the characters, enjoyed being around the characters and all that they did, even if some of it did feel a little far-fetched, but it was a way of commenting on modern life from a different angle, and that angle was these retired people at a quite luxurious old folks home who got together to try and solve cold cases, and then a real life murder case came and dropped itself on them and how they dealt with it and helped the police solve the case. Now this one I didn't quite enjoy as much as the first one. I'm not 100% sure why. I'm trying to figure out what it was about it. I think it's because a lot of the stuff that was just hinted at and inferred in the first book, it comes to the front and centre in this one. The character of Elizabeth Best, who was one of the team in the first book, there's 4 of them, the main characters. There's Elizabeth, Joyce, Ibrahim and Ron. Now Elizabeth was hinted at having a security services background in the first book, and it's something they only hinted at and didn't give you any details on it. It was just a reason why she's so good at what she did. Now in this one we find out she was definitely a MI5 agent, and she's something akin to a female James Bond, and had all these adventures in the 60s and 70s and survived all these dangerous situations. And into her life comes a man from her past. I won't ruin it with spoilers, and he brings the whole crew into an adventure involving stolen diamonds, corrupt bankers to the corrupt powers, and the mafia. And this also ends up involving a local drug dealer and a teenage kid. Now I'm not sure I enjoyed the spy aspect of it coming to the fore. Like I said, we also get introduced to 2 new characters, Lance and Sue, who are MI5 agents. They're not very well fleshed out, and in the end, I'm not sure why they're included. Just they needed somebody to bring the world of the spies to life, I believe. And Joyce, who took quite an equal part of the proceedings in the first book, is kind of more reduced to a comedy sidekick of Elizabeth. This is really Elizabeth's book. She's the driving force. She, well, in the first book, she was like the leader of the Thursday Murder Club. In this one, she's front and centre, like I said, all her past and her skills and what have you. And I found that actually detracted from the team aspect of it. The 2 men, Ibrahim and Ron, are really reduced to minor roles in this one. Ibrahim gets a little bit more because he gets mugged by a local teenager, and their plans to enact revenge for that combined with the main plot. Ron really has a few walk-on parts. He does some crucial things, but he's really in the background, and we don't really find out much more about him. But anyhow, despite all those misgivings I have about the book, I really enjoyed being back in the world with these characters. They're fun, and like in the first book, it gives Osman a way of commenting on our modern life from a different angle. If we weren't so immersed in all the digital technology and the internet and whatever, what would it look like to people from that are a little bit further removed from that? That's the angle that he's looking at it from. All the spy stuff and mafia and what have you kind of started to get a little far-fetched. It's kind of drifted further away from realism into more escapism, but hell, maybe we need more of that. So that is The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. Okay, lastly that I've read in the last week or so is Being You by Anil Seth. Now this is on the Kindle, as you can see. So this was one of the Listener magazine, large circulation New Zealand magazine, The Listener. Each year it puts out its 100 best books of the years, and the Being You was probably one of the only popular science ones which I noticed in the list, so I thought I'd get hold of it. It sounded intriguing, so I got hold of the Kindle copy and read it over just 1 or 2 sittings. So Being You is Anil Seth's attempt to bring to the fore his concept of what human consciousness is actually made of, or why we experience things as we do. To get to that end, he gives us a history of thinking between philosophers and scientists about the mind and the brain, and he goes through all the big experiments in history which proved things or disproved things. He gets a little bogged down in disproving things he doesn't agree with. I think he could have cut back on the blather on that a bit. Anyway, he comes to his grand theory, which he called Beast Machine, named after the philosopher Rene Descartes' theory on the animals. Descartes just thought the animals were mindless machines. Anyway, so Anil Seth has used this title, but he's got a completely different theory. He thinks that human consciousness is a fusion of hallucinations that we gather as our body, as we try and keep ourselves within certain essential variables to stay alive, and both internal and external senses, as we vary from these variables into dangerous areas, give us senses that give us feedback that we're going wrong and we have to realign ourselves. And part of this feedback or whatever is the consciousness we have. And yeah, it sounds okay. When he goes into the theory dryly, trying to describe it, it did start to lose me a bit. But the better parts of the book are his anecdotes about his life, his research and the people he worked with. Also, after he presents his theory, he goes on to his thoughts on animal consciousness and then artificial intelligence. Will it ever develop consciousness? Which he says probably not. The stuff with animals is very interesting. He goes into quite a detail about his research with octopuses and monkeys and so on, and some of the experiments which have been going on in those areas. I really enjoyed the stuff about the animals and the experiments and his anecdotes about other people, his family, what have you. That stuff kind of lightened the load of the book and made it a little better than it would have been if it was just his theorizing. So that is Being You, A New Science of Consciousness by Anil Seth. That is available now in all good bookshops, I believe, and online, of course. So that is the 3 books that I have read recently. Up next for me, I've been waiting a couple of months to actually get around to reading this, is Carnival of Snackery by David Sedaris. This is his second volume of diary entries. This one's dated from 2003 to 2020. I think the first one, Theft by Finding, was from the 70s up to the early 2000s. Now, Sedaris is someone I've become a fan of only in the last 4 or 5 years. Before that, I just saw his books around and heard him about on TV, what have you, and I thought he was just one of these smart-ass American humorists. And it turns out he is a smart-ass American humorist, but he's really good. He's really good at his observations of people, sharp, and doesn't take crap from anyone, and he's living a very strange life, well, an unusual life for an American. I think he currently lives most of the year in a small English town, and he spends his days picking up litter by the side of the road, and he manages to get incredible stories out of living a life like that. And of course he tours around for part of the year, and he's become incredibly popular for touring, and his books are just great. He can write a simple essay and really move you or make you laugh or make you cry. So that's David Sedaris, Carnival of Snackeries. I haven't actually dipped into any of it yet, but I've been looking forward to it since his last diary book, Theft by Finding. So I think that's about it. So we're clocking up almost at the 20-minute mark, so I'll let you get on with your day. Thanks for viewing this video. Oh yes, I just forgot to mention I changed my channel from my own name to the Christchurch Review of Books. Fumbled around with the branding settings or whatever in YouTube. Some of them didn't seem to work for me, so it's a bit of a hybrid channel at the moment. Christchurch Review of Books is the name of my blog that I've been running, reviewing books since about 2013. Gave it a break for about 5 years and started back at reviewing everything I read last year. So that's where you find my written reviews. Now I've got links from this channel that you're looking at beyond to that page, and there's links from that page back to this channel, so it's round and round in circles for you if you really want to do that. Just trying to integrate them both together. So that's all for now. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.